course, a lot of heavy hearts this morning in Connecticut after a state trooper was killed while serving his community.
Trooper First Class Aaron Pelletier was hit by a pickup truck on I-84 in Southington yesterday afternoon. He was conducting a traffic stop at the time as part of a special safety enforcement patrol. Investigators say Pelletier was talking with the driver that he pulled over when the pickup truck crossed onto the shoulder, sideswiped his cruiser, and then hit him in the shoulder. Pelletier died at the scene. The driver who hit him kept on going on I-84 East until reaching the exit for Route 9, and that's when the truck became disabled. Police arrested the driver there. They have not identified who that is yet.
Well, last night, something we have seen, unfortunately, in the past, as beautiful as it may be, police from all over Connecticut took part in a procession to take Trooper Pelletier's body to the chief medical examiner's office in Farmington. Officers, and you can even see just average people in the community with their hands over their hearts, lined the route to pay their respects to Pelletier. Now, as for him, he entered the State Police Training Academy in 2015 as a member of the 125th Training Troop. He was then assigned to Troop H in Hartford after he graduated. He also graduated from the K-9 Academy in 2021, along with his partner, K-9 Rosso.
He was a dedicated and compassionate professional. He was a role model to younger troopers, and he set a high standard for them to follow. But he was much more than that. Aaron was a loving husband and a father of 2 young children. Aaron was a son, he was a brother, and he was a friend to every man and woman that wore this uniform.
Pelletier is the 26th state trooper to die in the line of duty.
The commissioner of the Department of Emergency Services says Pelletier was committed to keeping everyone safe. He's asking everyone to do their part to keep police safe in return.
Take greater care when you drive. Respect your fellow citizens. Uphold the law. And lastly, believe in justice the way Trooper First Class Aaron Pelletier did. Remember, our Connecticut State Troopers are here to do more than enforce the law. They provide help, they support our communities, and they build positive relationships.
Governor Ned Lamont ordered all flags to fly at half-staff until after Trooper First Class Pelletier's funeral. Now, of course, another overarching message coming yesterday from law enforcement and from state leaders: please, please move over when you're driving.
Yeah, it is a law in our state to move over for any stationary vehicle on the side of the road, including state police, emergency responders, and tow truck drivers. Joining us now to talk more about the importance of following this law is Gary Macnamara, retired police chief with the Fairfield Police Department. Gary, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, obviously, thanks for having me. And you know, my heart really breaks for all the troopers and all law enforcement and their families.
Absolutely.
At this time.
Now, the move over law has been in effect here in Connecticut since 2009.
It has.
But clearly, it is not something that everyone is following. What else needs to be done to protect?
Well, Connecticut has the strongest move over law because it includes any disabled vehicle, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. In other words, we're assuming that operators of motor vehicles are following all the other laws that are required, meaning staying in your lane, following the speed limit, you know, changing lanes appropriately, and most importantly, paying attention. Yeah. Move over says when you recognize something as a hazard, you're moving your vehicle over safely. And I think that's the key that we have to remember. It's part of a requirement that all operators handle their vehicles appropriately while they're driving on our highways.
Yeah, and part of that law is even if it's a one-lane road and you can't move over, you still have to slow down by law, and you said for any vehicle. Yeah. You mentioned we have one of the most expansive laws in the country. Is it the strongest, though? My understanding is even if you were to not move over and it results in the death of a driver, there's no prison time. There's only, I think, a maximum fine of about $10,000.
Well, the move over portion of it, I'm not necessarily clear on what the punishments are for that, yeah. But there are other penalties involved with that. Yeah. So if you are operating a motor vehicle and you are involved in an accident that causes the death of someone, there's other charges that can be compiled upon it. What I mean by it's the most expansive in the country is that it also involves not just first responders, just any car on the side of the road, and we've seen that. A car breaks down, the tires flat, somebody gets out of their car, which the state police don't recommend doing, obviously, call 911, but we've seen that, so that's why it's the strongest in the country.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, sure.
My whole life.
Has there ever been any effort or thought into some sort of movement, like a DUI enforcement, to ticket people who are not moving over?
Yeah, first of all, it's hard to enforce because, our troopers are out there.
And I'm sure you need a lot of extra resources to do something like that. Yeah.
But I do think that our troopers are out there trying to enforce the laws that are in place, meaning that we want people to slow down. We're trying to protect our communities, and making sure they move over is hard to do because it requires a lot of other resources. We know the state police have resources in the air now that are handling some of the speeding things. I'm sure that there's going to be some heavy-duty enforcement on this move over law.
Would cameras help at some point if more cameras were installed on highways?
Yeah, as technology gets better, we're going to see artificial intelligence really start to record some of the violations. But above all else, people have to understand, slow down first.
Yes.
If you can move over safely, do that. But that requires you to be paying attention in the first place.
I'm also kind of curious, and of course, it is absolutely contingent upon the drivers to follow this law. What do state troopers and police officers do themselves in terms of standard operating procedure to try to keep themselves safe in a situation like this?
Well, for pulling vehicles over, all officers understand the hazard when they pull a car over, so they want to do it in a safe location. Yeah. So oftentimes you'll see a trooper get behind a car, they won't pull it over immediately. That's because they're looking for a safe place to have that happen. Unfortunately, what we see is that on the highways, it's difficult to find a safe place. But beyond that, cars break down, accidents happen, things happen in places that we can't expect. So, but police officers, the way they approach vehicles, they're always paying attention to the hazards on the road. But as we see, tragedies happen so quickly, and it's difficult for drivers if they're not paying attention to react. This requires attention upon drivers to pay attention to what's happening and take action to slow down and move over so we don't see these types of tragedies happening.
Quick question. I know it's procedure to always go on the driver's side, but with incidents like this, is there any thought to officers going to the passenger side just so there's less interaction? They're not in the street as much. They're not in the highway as much.
We've changed our procedures quite a bit as it relates to pulling cars over. So we do generally now do a passenger side approach to the vehicle, but it's difficult to determine why at that moment in time. But passenger side approaches have become more standard operating procedures. But again, that's not necessarily going to happen all the time. And so we'll wait to see what we can find out about this. But
I know it's former Chief Macnamara. We'll just always call you Chief. I know we've had you on the show, Chief. Thank you for your time.
Well, thanks for having this discussion because it's important we keep everybody safe.
It really is, yeah.
Thank you.